in the machine learning use case, right? So data understanding, second part will be data understanding. Who will do data understanding? Who are the stakeholder? Data science, data scientist, data engineer, and data architect. These people simultaneously work and they identify data, they assess data quality, assess data and bias also. What kind of biases that data has. So what will be the deliverable? Raw data. So in the input side, raw data is there, and on raw data, how they will get, how they will identify that data, how they will address that data quality. So that's how data engineer is also there, who will just think of where data is stored, how that data will be faced, right? Then data preparation. Third part will be data preparation. So in data preparation, what activities will be there? What task? Cleansing of that data. If data is poor, we need to cleanse it. Okay. If data has biases, we need to debias that data. We need to transform data. We need to see features, engineer features. Okay. So if deliverables wise, it you will get cleansed data, debiased data, transformed data, and feature engineer data. And what is the role? Who does data preparation? Data engineer does this. Data scientist helps in some areas wherein some SME kind of questions are those questions data engineer is asking. That's how data scientists help in this. Else, it is core role of the data engineer role who does data preparation. Then modeling, data modeling. It is data scientist role who selects model, which model is good, who builds model, who assess model, whether model is working good or not, okay, how model is behaving on that data, and gather more data on the for training purpose. So trained models will be the deliverables output, and data scientist will be the key role in the modeling phase. Then in evaluation, evaluation two task, I can say one task: assess model performance against business objective. What was your business objective? Why you want to build that machine learning model? Okay, so on the basis of business objective, your model is assessed whether that model is performing good in your business sense and your business objectives are met or not, right? So deployment, and then if everything is good, then deployment and operation. Our model is getting deployed in the production systems, right? So we need to monitor performance of the models, then incorporate new data. We again retrain after 2 months or 3 months because the environment changes. Redeploy. See, a lot of scenario changes, sometimes like COVID. Now our model need to be retrained because the earlier whatever model training we did, that was on different data. It was other environment. In retail sector, now nobody is going to buy in shops after Corona. So a lot of models were again need to retrain. Those machine learning algorithms need to be retrained and again redeployed in those models. We need to redeploy those models. And that's how we need to monitor performance again. So this is reiterative job. And this job is done by the data engineer, DevOps engineer, productionization of models. Yes, help of data scientist is also required, certain parts, because he gives, at least as an SME, he gives the thought process of the business objectives. Okay, what are the key elements are changed and how those models will be behaving. But deployment and those performance monitoring and those things, only two roles, data engineer and DevOps engineers people are doing. And deliverables will be model predictions, model performance matrices, and new data and updated models. So this will be the deliverables for these roles. Now, three key areas already you have heard: deep learning, machine learning, AI. What is AI, right? So AI is any very thin difference between all these three boundaries, three areas. AI is the topmost layer, if you can see, and in AI, machine learning is the inner core, and innermost core is deep learning. AI is the outer core, which that is any technique that enables computers to mimic our natural human intelligence using logic or any decision trees or any machine learning, including deep learning. So that's totally artificial intelligence. Like we are thinking, artificial intelligence is that part where machines automatically thinks. Okay, machine learning, a subset of this is subset of AI. Okay, that includes statistical techniques and that enable machines to improve at task with experience. So totally all these areas, all the three areas are totally dependent on the data. Okay, and subset of deep machine learning is deep learning. Okay, where here in machine learning manually we are doing algorithms, we are training algorithms, right? We are inputting data, and that depending on the data we are getting output in between algorithm works, right? So here all the feature engineering and everything we are doing manually. Okay, data scientist does those aspects. But in deep learning, data we are sending as an input data, and processing or middle tier processing is done by the machines automatically. They automatically gather features, all the
क्योंकि हम लोग ये सब स्लाइड से लेके आ रहे हैं,
so
बच्चों को मैं बताऊंगी
so
और
speed
स्लाइड करने दे दूंगी।
so
ठीक है,
speed
स्टूडेंट को फेस करना है, ताकि व्हाइट बोर्ड को या प्रोजेक्टर जो भी आपका प्रोजेक्शन प्लेस है उसको आपको फेस करना है। अब मान लीजिए आपने यही पूरा पूरा आपने लिखा हुआ है और आप उसको अपने स्लाइड चला दें।
Hello, Satish sir, please unmute now yourself. Hello, Satish sir. Hello, Satish sir. Harikesh Singh speaking. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, why I'm getting muted? Okay.
Sir, actually we have muted because somebody has disturbed.
Okay, question. Okay, okay. Got it. Sir. So I was on 1 second. Slide, you are able to see my slide screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was just explaining deep learning. So deep learning, in deep learning cases, automatically data is, they are considering data as input, and automatically all the recognition, image recognition, speech recognition, all the processing they are doing. Feature engineering inside of the machines automatically getting done. So we are not interfering. Okay. So that's how deep learning works. Okay. So I will explain you in detail next slide. Okay. 1 second. So easiest way to understand difference between machine learning and deep learning is that deep learning is machine learning. More specifically, it is the next evolution of machine learning, nothing else. So, so what is the dependency here? So dependency, data dependency in all three cases, see, be it AI, machine learning and deep learning, you have data dependency. So most important difference between the two is performance as the data size increases. So in general machine learning application, if you have huge data size, then your algorithm will not perform that much. So that's how deep learning come into picture. And we can see that as size of the data is small, deep learning does not perform. So deep learning is also performing well when data, you have enough data, huge data. Okay. So because deep learning algorithms require large amount of data to understand it perfectly. On the other hand, machine learning works perfectly on a small set of data. So that's how deep learning and machine learning key difference is data dependency is always there. And you have very good amount of data for the deep learning. Machine learning, some small amount of data will also work, but yes, accuracy you will get when your data will be used. Okay. Then hardware dependency. See, deep learning algorithms are highly dependent on high end machines. GPUs, you have heard GPUs. So those algorithms can work on low end machine as work, but GPUs are required for deep learning algorithms to train, right? So this is because requirement of deep learning algorithms include GPUs, and which is an integral part of its working. So normal machines uh, running deep learning algorithms is cumbersome task, because a lot of data we need to, right, give data also. And GPUs are required as they perform large amount of matrix multiplication, and these operations are required optimized GPUs. Now, feature engineering. So already I explained a lot of features we need to get from the data. So it's the process of putting domain knowledge. For feature engineering, you need domain knowledge. Okay. So in which domain you are working, you are solving data science problems. So that that kind of knowledge required. Like you, if you are working solving data science problems in banking use cases, then certainly financial background, banking background is required, right? If you have banking domain exposure, so you will better identify data, you can make predictions, and you can see the your algorithms are working fine or not, right? So depending, you can identify at least features, because you are having good knowledge of the that domain, banking domain or financial domain. So this process is difficult and expensive in terms of time and expertise. So in case of machine learning, most of the features are need to be identified by expert and then hand coded as per the domain and data type. So the performance of machine learning depends on how accurately you identified features and you extracted those features. But in deep learning, all these high level features, identifications and extraction are getting done by the machine itself. So that's how deep learning uh, uh, gives good results in comparison of machine learning. In case of very huge data, or you don't have domain knowledge, so in that case deep learning performance well, because machines are better trained. Next, Manish, I'm not able to move my, okay. Yeah. So feature engineering already explained. Then one more phase, you can see these are the areas, recommendation engines. These are the applications of the deep learning. Facebook, you know, you are using Facebook day to day. So people you may know already it is flashing to you, right? And you are getting connected, that you can connect those guys, because it's using recommendation engine in the background. Netflix, like you are watching one movie and it suggests you another movie. Okay, other movies you may enjoy. So it's showing another movies similar which you watched, right? So these are recommendation engine. LinkedIn, jobs you may be interested in. So this kind of headings you mostly get pop-ups while you are watching posts or LinkedIn posts or watching movies on Netflix or watching posts on Facebook, right? So you are getting these kind of recommendation. Again, Google, visually similar images. If you are searching something on Google, so Google will show you a lot of, it will show pop-ups of different similar kind of images. YouTube recommended videos you will able to see. So this is the kind of areas where recommendation engine is getting used. These are kind of deep learning applications, machine learning applications. Okay. So now, next, recommendation engine. Next is collaborative filtering methods. How they are using recommendation, depending on the, see, two kind of filtering algorithms: collaborative filtering and content filtering. So content based and collaborative filtering methods are different. See, as a customer, you are, suppose you are buying something, you are liking and bought something. So what recommendation engine will do? It will recommend products similar as per you are, as a customer you are, what kind of range of products you bought, right? So it will throw similar kind of products to you. So second is content based filtering, where you liked something or bought something, and depending on the product, based on similar products or items, different kind of items will be shown in front of you on the that site uh, where you bought those items. So content based filtering are referring quantizing number of objects in your application as a set of features and fitting regression models. So these underground models are regression models, and they are predicting your tendencies, your user tendencies, what kind of user you are, what kind of interest you have in products. So those are content based filtering. Then collaborative filtering is more difficult to implement, but performs better, incorporates the behavior of the entire user base and make prediction for single users. So if you suppose you are buying certain books, so similar kind of books it will pop up. Okay, it will get pop up. So that's how you will, again, if you are buying, you need to buy similar kind of books, or you are getting interested. So that's how they are luring customers. Okay, depending on the your buying pattern. Then one other use case, chatbots. You know, a lot of AI ML algorithms are using chatbots, are also seen by many of us. Like if you are using banks or all any booking tickets, IRCTC is also using chatbots. Banks are using chatbots. So now these are the pillars for the next generation of user interfaces on the web. Whatever website you are going, now every website is now just forcing you to do chats. You can type your ask and they will respond you immediately. So chatbots can be trained with samples of dialogues, and recurrent neural networks are getting used. So cloud-based machine learning. Now what happened, mostly on-premise systems are going away and cloud is coming into picture. So now machine learning platforms are fastest growing platforms, services, and in public cloud. Unlike other cloud services, ML and AI platforms are now available, which are providing you cognitive computing services, automated machine learning services, machine learning model management you can do, machine learning model serving you can do, GPU based computing you can do. You don't have to scale your systems in on-premise. You don't have to create infrastructure in on-premise. Now you have Google APIs, Google systems, you have Amazon systems, Amazon cloud, you have Azure, Microsoft Azure services. So you can use of any cloud vendor, and you can do your create your machine learning own platform, or you can use their platform as well as for model development and management. So nowadays cloud is being popularized, right? So AI. So AI, see how many application of AI. See, natural language processing, which already I spoke, chatbots, customer reviews and those things. NLP is getting used, virtual personal assistant chatbots, right? They are all integrated. Visualization, we can visualize through AI. We can do computer visions, right? Computer vision APIs are there. We can wait and we can watch who is coming in your building, in your tower. Okay, we can identify their voices. So voice analytics, audio analytics we can do, graph analytics we can do, image analytics, who entered that building, right? We can identify those images, right? We can identify a lot of integration of Internet of Things is going on. Robotics is also one use case for the AI. Machine learning is already there, right? Social media network, social network analysis we can do. Suppose in one company is doing fraud, so who all directors are associated, so that thing we can do social network analysis through social media analysis. So we can do link of those directors, whether okay this director was associated with that director or not. So there you can use graph analytics and social network analysis, and you can correlate those guys, those persons. So machine learning translations are there. You can translate Urdu to English, English to Urdu, other languages, one language to other language, right? You can translate speech to text. You are speaking, in phones also, in iPhones or all other, Google is using your speeches, right? You can speak, and APIs are getting used, and your speech will be translated, recognized, and later on in second time when you will speak, they will identify that you are speaking, who you are, right? So those kind of aspects of the AI, deep learning, machine learning is there, right? So they are all integrated. They are not separate. They are all integrated. So in use case part, there are various use cases. I can give you certain one by one. I have a lot of use cases in banking, healthcare, how those use cases in a real case scenario, what are the data required, what are the algorithms required. I will explain you one by one. So here data science, one second. Yeah. So data science business transformation for saving, pricing and forecasting at banking group. One banking group, I had not given you the name of the group, but we used machine learning model, and we got improved margin management and forecasting accuracy against existing linear models. So what were the challenge? I will explain you. So customer traditional data driven process with Excel workbooks, a lot of Excel workbooks customer was having, bank was having, and human work that was expensive, slow and unreliable. To overcome this challenge, we used machine learning. And machine learning, applying machine learning in this case was also one challenge, because you need to read balance sheet values. What will be the value of customer savings on the balance sheet in n month? Suppose after 7 months, after 6 months, what will be the balance sheet value? What product features, how we will, what features will should new products have to meet the bank targets or financial institution target? So those kind of challenges we were having, but outcomes we got after applying machine learning model: improved margin management, better pricing strategy, forecasting accuracy improvement, okay, then repetitive models that can trained on new saving products, and more timely forecast. We were forecasting for 3-4 months in prior, right? And that was enhancing our liquidity management for the bank. So here one use case which business transformation, in that business transformation happened. Okay. Second use case, one second. Yeah. So for digital forecasting and banking group again, and with 83% accuracy we estimated, and same wavelet analytics we used, and we used data source as a company database. So digital users forecasting we have done in this case. Okay. So next, one very interesting, always you have heard card not present fraud. So why this? Because a lot of people nowadays using credit cards, right? So card not present or CNP problem, in data science area we see it. Okay. So why it happens? Suppose somebody is stolen your credit card. So fraudster purchases stolen credit card details. Sometimes they are getting your details from the dark web and then make fraudulent purchases from your credit card. Then a lot of online skimming right now due to COVID. Everybody is working online shopping, right? Everybody is shopping online. So online skimming is also possible. Online users who log in to free and unsecured Wi-Fi networks. So whenever you are going on unsecured Wi-Fi network, it maybe you can be easy victim, okay, for the fraudsters. They can easily identify your credit card information. They can collect your information, and they can misuse your information for your card details information, phone number information, your order history. You are ordering items online, so they can use this data to mimic similar kind of like they are the original customers, right? So they can use your data and do fraudulent transactions on behalf of you, right? So fraudulent e-gift cards. Suppose your stolen credit card details are just received by the criminals, and they can buy e-gift cards and then use these gift cards to make purchases and or sell those cards to somebody secondary marketplaces. So a lot of credit card CNP frauds are there. So how we can what are the solutions? Geolocations. See if how we will verify that whether that fraud happening or not. So sometimes in data science area we need to verify locations of the customers. What is the actual locations of the active card? Then we are identifying biometric analysis. We can identify these are the solution by which we can secure our systems, our cards. So these credit card companies are doing these solutions, applying these solutions. Various address verification services, right? So issuer, whoever card is issuer, he compares the address provided during the transaction. So he compares, and depending on those address verification, they are catching, okay, your fraud, transaction is fraud or not. Your CVV in your credit card or debit card, in backside you have CVV numbers, right? Security codes. So for final payment, this CVV authorization is getting done. But sometimes they are getting CVV information also from you. You are also providing CVV information to fraudster, right? So they are doing those. So now companies are creating their systems strong so that fraudster cannot do frauds. So secure SSLs, secure encrypted communication protocols are now network companies are using. So between devices and payment solutions. So that's how fraud cannot happen. So these are the areas: 3 domain security, cardinal authentication protocols for e-commerce transaction and CNP purchases. So these are the solutions which can be done and companies are doing. Deep analysis of IP, from which IP address your transaction happened. So these are the areas where data scientists are analyzing these kind of data, and they are just thinking, okay, that transaction is fraud or not, and depending on that pattern, they are ensuring companies that next time this fraud should not occur. Okay. So here CNP fraud detection for high network customers. So it may be sometimes transaction values are very low. It may be 1,000, 2,000, but sometimes suppose fraud or scammers, fraudulent transactions are doing in crores. So in that time, we need to identify whether what was net worth of the customers. If that is high net worth customers, certainly a lot of high security measures we need to build. So for that, we client has given us challenge that credit card data is being copied and used to commit fraudulent online transaction. So machine learning algorithms to be applied on transaction data, and CNP fraud detection was the issue. And the same industry was banking, and around 40% of total customer fraud for the 3 months was captured in the top 1% of the population. And that's how the model was able to deploy it in current bank system. I'm not giving the bank name, but yes, the current real-time fraud systems has incorporated the model as a new features. and CVV card business case was totally covered by the fraud detected. So this was another business use case in the banking group. Then advanced analytics for fraud detection at car insurance company. One car insurance company, they used our fraud detection algorithms. So as a data source, they used open data road accidents from public administration, and then they used machine learning. And actually challenge was to detect the frauds, insurance frauds, okay, while ensuring judgments, rules, some risk score values, some fraudulent claim were done on the behalf of certain genuine customers. So those claims, we need to stop those fraud patterns, and we stopped those through our fraud detection algorithms, which were coded in machine learning, which were main challenge for the machine learning. What business outcomes we received? We reduced management cost due to automatic procedures. We improved customer experience and reduction of the risk losses from the judgmental errors. Sometimes, you know, manually we are seeing the values from the rule-based mechanism that, okay, this is genuine or this is fraud, and manually we are doing a lot of judgmental errors. So those things can be done automated through machine learning, and that errors can be reduced, and we can reduce the risk. We can reduce the risk of the loss. Okay, and then reduction of the time to detection. So certainly in machine learning use cases, time is very important. So we are saving a lot of time using these machine learning algorithms. Yeah, a lot of network analysis and advanced analytics improved fraud analysis for one Italian insurance company. We deployed this fraud detection. So similar kind of pattern and false negative identification. We did a lot of using network analysis for claims. So few of use cases are from the same banking group. Then I will come on next. One news search process, negative news search process we identified at banking group. So you know, negative news search from where third-party data we used, internal data, third-party data, social media data, and we automated and created robust algorithms. Okay, negative sentiments about the organization, negative sentiments about the policies of the bank. Okay, so what business outcomes we got from that? Comprehensive and robust search process. Current process was totally manual driven. Somebody was searching from the Google and then fixing those Google search pages, reviews. So we automated those things. We increased consistency by removing the subjectivity from the decision making, and reduced risk from the human intervention, human errors. So a set of normalized scores to help prioritize cases based on the perceived risk and search flags. So it used NLP, natural language processing also got used. So a lot of negative word clouds we created, and depending on that we search a lot of keywords, and depending on that we deployed those algorithms. Then in real time cases, AI real time, we implemented next best action on customer purchase pattern. Okay, already we recommendation engine already you have seen. So this was for the bank. Bank was seeking to increase its customer engagements by creating a personalized and contextual omni-channel banking experience. So they want that user experience should be increased. Their user experience should be increased. So for that we used customer data and end-to-end AI and ML models we used, and real-time personalized action and content we used. So 45% accurate prediction of the customer purchase patterns we identified. We increased product targeting by recommending cards based on the customer spend patterns. So that company was we helped through recommending those customers depending on their purchase patterns, and so that's they were just targeting only those customers who are uh, who are keen to and who can buy their next credit card or purchase card, right? So they don't have to send advertisement to all customers, only customers who are really deserved for those kind of cards or those card values. So we identified those predictions, okay, of the customer's purchase duty depending on the customer purchase patterns. Then bank used to alert customers to offers based on the geographical locations also. So detecting the travel patterns and preemptively alert on exchange rates and ATM transactions, they can lure those customers. They can identify those customers and send those offers. Then churn, a lot of churn model we implemented in human resource HR part, in banks and other financial institutions also. So depending on the social media data, online banking activities, social network analysis we used, and we identified causes for the customer churn. You know, if you are any company, you don't want to see your customers go away, right? If somebody is your customer, you don't want to, because customer acquisition is very heavy task. You have to invest certain amount of money for acquisition of the customers. So if you had acquired those customers and you invested a lot for that customer, and so you don't want to go the customer go, okay? So you want certain policies, you want certain thing customer, you can improve customer experience so that your customer should not go. So that was the client challenge certain places. So we identified, we understand customer challenges, what customer wants, their customer needs, their signals we identified, real-time insights we got from social media, online banking activities, social network analysis we did. We integrated all those areas and we increased 16% improvement of the customer risk estimation, churn risk estimation, where we identified that, okay, 16% at least we can save. Whatever customers earlier last month were churned, now 16% improvement we did in the customer churn estimation. So now we can saved 16% customers at least. So that data can be improved depending on your data, how much data you are providing, that improvement we can give you. So in a quarter, suppose 16%, in a year it may be 30% accuracy, 30% improvement you will get. So churn prediction model always worked in real time. So our model worked in real time. So next, in predicting 30-day advance dormancy and enabling proactive intervention. So this area, disengagement of the internet bank, customer leaving the bank, same churn pattern. So we identified digital logs data, dormant prediction we did, machine learning algorithms we used for the banks, and we accurately identified 67% of the dormant customers. Okay, and that's how we got that dormancy was predicted 30 days in advance, and our model compared to a random 5% sample of customers who logged over the 30 days. So bank was better ability, increased their ability to perform proactive interventions, and model was able to deploy it in current bank system. So these were the live machine learning use cases. Again, in call centers, we were implementing we implemented our machine learning banking sector itself, banking call center. So we demonstrated ability to machine learning and cognitive analytics method to add business value to content center, call audio data. So whoever customers were calling, we used call reason identification. What was the reason for the call, and data sources already phone calls, internal calls we identified and taken as a data source. Method NLP, natural language processing we used, and we reduced call center average handling time by improving call reason identification by 70%. So 70% improved accuracy and consistency we received. So accuracy rate as high as 90%. So depending on the data, how much data you are getting from the bank or institution who are providing for the implementing machine learning. So if your data is enough, your accuracy will be good. Okay. So next, a lot of use cases are there, but I will not cover all use cases because all are similar use cases depending on NLP. Okay. See here one graph databases. We used graph databases for email analysis to map network and identify key influencers. Sometimes see industry unknown. I'm not knowing. I think different industry we use this. So we used company email data, okay, as a data source, and issue we identified network of people who presents compliance issues or risks for that organization. You know, in company everybody has certain emails, right? Email IDs. So people are certainly not allowed to send company confidential information outside of your organization. You can pass on very secure information of the company through mail. So how those things can be cached? Certainly machine learning comes into play. And in machine learning, natural language processing, we can identify who was the call receiver of the mail, who sent, to whom you sent. We can leverage graph databases, okay? And we can identify key influencer who got influenced by that mail. Suppose you are your company is opening one bid, okay? So in bidding, you can certain stakeholder can send certain secure information, bid information to somebody, some vendor, right? So they can be benefited. So who are the key influencers? We can map organizational hierarchy through graph databases, through machine learning and NLP. Automated email categorization can be done through this. So these are the business outcomes. We can analyze conversation. What conversation to email receiver and sender? What conversation they are doing, depending on the CC, BCC, their subjects, right? So we can include NLP. We can use AI, machine learning, all areas, and we can integrate and see catch the compliance issues or this. So this is one other use case which I identified in one. We used graph databases. We used graph databases. Then voice analytics, one POC we did, okay, for banking, for large consumer bank, where we parse the calls and identify it was involving speech to text, because lot of audio files we analyzed and we converted those audio files to text. Directly you can't analyze without converting into text. From text you can use NLP and other areas of the analytics, and we improved automated call resolution identification. What was the issue, why call was made, how much time it take to handle those calls, okay? And so depending on a lot of business cases are there in financial institutions. So similar use cases, we can these algorithms can be used in healthcare as well as. So here in credit risk models, I had used these ML machine learning algorithms. In banks, we used machine learning classification model, and data source, data and software available in the bank we used, and we used for regulatory and compliance purpose the same. So while we were using traditional methods, we were using ROC, AU ROC index for analyzing model performance measures. But in phase 1, we used traditional method and ML, machine learning. We got 3% increment in the accuracy. Then we used machine learning and traditional methods. First machine learning, second traditional methods. Then we increased 8%, our index got increased. Our performance was improved. And when used data preparation also, we used machine learning, and model building also we did through machine learning. 10% performance got increased. So that's how machine learning, if you are doing automated, directly you are doing all the tasks through ML or deep learning, certainly your AUC and ROC will index model performance will improved. So overall 10% improvements was compared to older model. Okay. So 10% improvement is very good improvement in a quarter or two. So that was the application of ML model in credit risk modeling process. Then we used hybrid models, okay, wherein AI and ML models we used for maximizing business benefit from new technology. So I will not take much time on this. Healthcare, one more area, healthcare I will bring, and just bear with me. Healthcare, some use cases I will show. Are you able to see my desktop, Manish?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So already I had covered all the areas of the machine learning in finance, right? So right now, machine learning is directly, it is present in everybody's daily lives also, right? On your phone, see, if on your phone, if you are on your phone, if
वही पूछ रहा हूँ ना, मिला भी है, मैं पूछ रहा हूँ।
Yeah, so on your phone, hello, are you, I'm audible or hello?
Hello. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, so just on your phone, suppose you are speaking, see, you are speaking to somebody. So even you can ask your phone to carry out a search or make a phone call. Already your iPhone or your Android phone is just searching that number through Google and dialing that number from your call list, right? Whoever are saved in your phone. So directly it is using machine learning, right? In shopping baskets, you are shopping, your recommendation engine is getting used. On your TV, if your recommendation engine is getting used. In your email, already you are using Google. See, in Google you have a spam detection. So already your email is getting detected. You directly, it seems that your mail is a spam. So they are sending directly to spam folder. On your social media, image recognition, already in bank, a lot of use cases I had given on fraud, right? So for credit card offers, a lot of companies or banks are using machine learning. In hospitals, image recognition systems are enhancing your diagnosis, right? In science, your in particle physics, you are Higgs-Boson finding pattern in immense data sets. So it's a very different use case. So I will not cover all the areas. Machine learning is getting used each and everywhere. Wherever you will think, machine learning and AI is now getting used. So image recognition, language processing, human machine simple interaction is getting done. So now statistics, algorithms, analytics, all the three areas are integrated and you are getting your outputs. Okay. And even you don't know. So that's how processing is very important. Your data processing power, your data storage powers. So that's how cloud is getting used. Now you don't have to scale your systems. Now in healthcare, I will come on use cases. Yes. So in healthcare, patient patient data. See here, your personal data is getting tracked for diagnostic. Health records are getting checked. Monitoring is done. See, genome data is getting biometric, is storing your data, right? So in biometric, everything is covered. You are using your Fitbit systems. So those systems are also capturing your biometric data, right? Your data. So your data is the key. So this data is in a socio-economic environment. Your clinical resources, a lot of clinical resources are using your data. Your online resources are using your data. Government resources are using your data, right? So patient data or your data is getting shared to coming across, right? Financial well-being is getting assessed, right? Your activities is getting tracked. Family obligations are getting tracked. So dieting, your diet information is getting tracked. Your personal goals are getting tracked. So a lot of complex information are getting tracked and collected from you only, because you are wearing those devices. Okay, so your data is getting tracked. So in healthcare, how big data and AI enables healthcare systems. So instant healthcare, virtual office visits, reduced wait times. So nowadays during COVID times, you don't have to go to doctor directly, right? Virtual offices are dealing in virtual mode. Doctors are giving you healthcare services, right? So your error-free healthcare is possible. Sensors, real-time analytics are improving diagnosis, okay, and reduce your procedural and medical errors. So now cost-effective healthcare is getting provided through innovative companies, improve quality while extinguishing extraneous process of data. So these are the areas of data. These data is specialty clinics, specialty clinics, technology automation, retail commerce data, aging in place, healthcare, community care, specialty treatment centers, wellness support clinics. So everywhere, these are the four benefits: instant healthcare, continuous healthcare, error-free healthcare, and cost-effective healthcare. We are getting these services, and a lot of opportunities now, right now in healthcare sectors. So customer experience and engagement is the key part. If customers are getting good experience through these systems, certainly your revenue will be increased, they will be engaged, and your revenue will be enhanced. So your customer journey experience will enhance. Okay, so these are the use cases in healthcare. Then certain areas where machine learning will achieve increase reliable data correlation. It will increase disease selection probability. It will increase. It will leverage data for better customer experience. So that's how machine learning is helping. Okay, in healthcare sector also. So disease can be predicted in advance. Okay, because a lot of data is already we can get good drugs like COVID vaccination, and that how those research has been done possible within a year because of machine learning and AI capabilities. Because manually you can't do those kind of drug testing, and that kind of performance only you will get through machine learning, implementing machine learning and AI part, right? So that is the benefit of the using machine learning part. Then big data, because your data is used, so certainly big data technology will also come into picture, because where you will store your data, how you will store your data, how data governance will be possible, right? How data will be ingested from you from other system to your systems from where you will plug your machine learning algorithms, right? So how data governance mechanism, how data lineage you will cover, how data will be cleaned, right? What data integration tools you will plug in, how data will be massaged, right? What data science tool set you will use, whether you will use R or Python language. So there are n number of tool sets which can be explored with the machine learning and AI part, and we can use those areas to uncover various patterns from the data in medical science, in physics, in all areas of our life, day-to-day life. So now traditional models were mostly evidence-based care. Now real-time outcome-based care is also medical. A lot of medical platforms are there. Medical solutions are getting built. Insight as a service, automation as a service, robotics as a service. So these are the different use cases. So various traditional medical products are getting built. Then bundle of services and medical products are getting differentiation by providing services and key stakeholder. Then by differentiating via intelligent and outcome-based health to demonstrate value to end user. So a lot of intelligent services and medical products are getting built. So that's how outcome-based healthcare we are providing through use of intelligent solutions, through machine learning and analytics. So mostly we covered. In 2025, see, our refrigerators will suggest to us what to eat based on our physiological status, monitored through wearables. So imagine our fridges, our refrigerator will suggest us what to eat, okay, based on AI and ML technologies only. Will understand our babies through voice recognition applications, okay, what they are telling. Right now we didn't understand their voices, but our recognition application will tell us what they want to tell, what they want to ask from us as a parent. So these things will be, I think around 2025 we will get these applications, okay, and we'll use accessible imaging devices to enhance our vision beyond what we see today with visible light. See, as a human being, what we can see now, a lot of already computer vision applications and imaging devices, night devices are already deployed for the armies, created for the armies. In the night itself, those vision applications are helping army, our soldiers. So these are the areas where machine learning and AI applications are helping us, okay. So these are the main areas where I thought to cover and get you explain these areas. So thank you all, and it was really now if there are certain questions, certainly I can respond. Yeah, Manish, over to you. Manish?
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Anyone want to ask question? Vinod, sir. Vinod, sir, you can.
Yeah, Manish?
Hello.
Yeah.
Vinod, sir, you can ask.
Sir, no question.
No question. Okay, thank you, Satish, sir. Our HOD, sir. I welcome my HOD, sir, to say something.
पहले हम वो वीडियो भेज दें और उसको पढ़ लो, उसके बाद एक वर्कशॉप चलें। खत्म हो गया सर का? हाँ। Very good afternoon. Satish ji,
Good afternoon.
how are
Good
you?
afternoon. Doing good.
It's our privilege. Always have a privilege to invite you and listen you. I think most of the participants were benefited through this lecture because I listened you a lot earlier in physical mode. This time due to COVID, we are having this virtual FDP. But
Yeah.
how's the experience, sir?
Yeah, my experience, I didn't got any questions, so that was not very.
So I'm just circulating your email ID. So all the participants are requested to just connect because he has vast experience of data analytics. He has served in different companies. So you can be benefited through email or whatever you have questions you can ask him.
Yeah,
So
always
we
welcome.
have a WhatsApp group also, sir, for this
Yeah,
purpose.
yeah. You can add, and anybody can come to me with any kind of questions. I am on LinkedIn also. I have vast presence on LinkedIn. Lot of connections I have. So you can connect me and ask me any kind of doubts in machine learning, AI, data science area, data analytics area, whatever questions, big data area, whatever questions you have. I will try to answer all the questions.
So nice of you. So nice of you, sir.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
So thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your valuable time. Thank you.
Thanks.
God bless you all. Thank you.
Thanks.